Let's look at next week's projections and who we see playing out
Absolutely.
there. Who do we have up this week?
Well, we have the King of the Coonasses, first off. We'll be playing the, let me see, hashtag Hot Self Shot.
I think this is game of the week.
I have to agree with you. You know, hashtag is playing for that third place position because the winner of this one will make it into that third place seat, assuming that there's a Commissioner to blow me loss, which means that he will not have to face a postseason strong WTF.
Boy, especially with WTF having Aaron Rodgers, who's going to come out ready to go.
Absolutely. Green Bay is still playing for playoffs and home field advantage right now. They're definitely going to be on fire, so you don't want to play him in the first week.
You don't, but on top of that, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a great hard-nosed football because you've got Coonasses, who puts out a great squad again. We saw 170 just about points out of him. We've seen 215-point performances. We see in the upper 130s consistently. And Hotshot trails by that slightly. He's had a little bit of tough luck this year with some of his losses.
Had some rough
but he's a consistent performer, and that's why he's leading the league in points overall.
If anything, he's the most consistent performer in the league.
Oh, definitely. He's a consistent.
Very consistent. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. We'll see how it goes this week.
Definitely. Well, who else do we have coming up? Let's look at these projections.
We've got next the Comeback King and me.
Okay,
Scoregasm.
How do you feel? How are your players? What are they telling you?
My players, you know, they suffered a tough loss last week. They finally got together. They put up their highest score of the season.
Congratulations.
And, they suffered a loss, but for a second there, they were able to almost taste what winning like that was. And I think they got a taste for it. They just celebrated too soon last week. But I think they know what it feels like, and I think they're going to want to try to get back to that.
Well, and I really think they've seen the light at the end of the tunnel, and they're not going to stop. They're going to come out of that dark losing spot that you're in now, and I think they have the potential to come really strong this week. I definitely can see a win in your future. I think that's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how the losers bracket ends up playing out between week 15, week 16, how it's going to work. Because really, in the losers bracket, we're looking at positioning. Who is going to be there for 15, playing 5 and 6? Who is going to be there playing, 6 and 7, and who's playing 4 and 8? Which is an interesting dynamic in this week, especially with Moberg potentially being an 8, making some serious trades. And as you remember last year, when he made some great waiver pickups, he came out of last place
and he came out of last place
at a 6-game deficit
to pass up the Lady Ben and Commissioner to blow me. He finished ahead of both of those players last year.
Well, what other games do we have this week?
Well, we have the Team WTF and Beats by Ray.
Okay.
How do you feel about this? You got to be.
I'm
you're
nervous.
Playing for seeding here. You got to be nervous. We've already talked about WTF and his tough team.
He is. You know, he's very reliant on Jordy Nelson, Aaron Rodgers, who are looking for playoff spots.
That is a good combo to be relying on. Don't get me wrong, folks.
It is. You know, the one thing that I have for me that is definitely a long shot is that Green Bay and WTF are very dependent on Aaron Rodgers staying healthy. And,
they are.
You know, ever since that game against the Saints in New Orleans, he took a hit, came out. We see that he has a weakness. I think that my guys are going to try and really get on that, going to try and hit against him hard. Again, Matt Flynn come in, who by far and away is the best negotiator on the earth, apparently.
Yes, he is the highest paid backup quarterback in the history of football.
Absolutely. This man is just about a gajillionaire and doesn't do anything. Doesn't have to do anything outside of a poor performance on Thanksgiving a year ago.
Wears that little hat and holds the playbook for Aaron Rodgers.
That's exactly right.
Shows him that little new fancy pad they've got with the pictures. Like, hey, this is what you did. Yeah. But absolutely. But let's talk about the last game. Hey, would you blow me? And Moberg's Renegades.
Ooh. You know, last week, I don't think there's anybody out there that wouldn't have said the commissioner was just going to stomp a mud hole in Moberg. But with these trades, a lot of which were instigated by the commissioner, I got a little nervous.
He's got to be sweating it. I mean,
I think he felt sorry for him and decided I'm going to push some trades here. I'm going to help Moberg out. And I think in the long run, that's going to bite the commissioner in the tail. I'm voting Team Moberg this week.
That is definitely my vote. I'm going to vote Team Moberg as well.
Commissioner, I'm sorry to tell you, but I think you may be going down this week.
I do believe so. Well, Nick, don't we have a new section we're going to add into the show?
We do. This newest segment is Mail Call. We asked all of our listeners last week to write in. We've had our screeners go through and pick the 5 best letters. And I'd like to start off, if you don't mind. All right. This first letter is actually directed to you, Scoregasm. It's from Tim in West Chestertonfield, Iowa. Cody, longtime fan, tough loss this week to the commish. How are you going to bounce back? And are you worried that Sanchez is already heading your way?
Well, Tim, to answer your question, I'm not worried as much about the Sanchez headed my way. As far as bouncing back goes, I only have to, this week's game really doesn't matter. I have to win in week 15. That's what I'm focused on. You know, I'm looking at projections on who's playing who in week 15. I've even done the research as much as which players cut their toenails too short and are planning to cut them too short in week 15. So I'm not worried about the Sanchez. It's not going to happen. Right now I'm just playing for 5th place so I can add something to it.
Absolutely. That's a good spot to be. You can lock that in.
All right, this one is from state champion in 6th Ward, Louisiana.
Wow.
Gotta say, I'm really pulling for Mold. He's been making some serious trades at the end of the season. I know he's headed for the loser's bracket, but where is he going to end up? That's interesting. No one knows. Mold decides his own fate at this point.
Moldberg definitely does. Again, I think he's going to take that W out of the commissioner's hands this week. Really, his position, it's a sad thing, is he's so dependent, because he wasn't able to make those adjustments early on in the season, he's really dependent on seeing a couple of the other owners just fail. And that's a real tough spot to be. That's hard to encourage those guys forward when we're based on, hey, we've got to do a great week, but let's see what happens here and there. I know with my team, with my guys, it's been, hey, we play like we practice. So we practice full speed, full pad, all day, every day.
That's
because when it's time to perform, we're going to shine. And hey, if fate shines our way, we're going to be ready for it.
Absolutely. That's well said.
Oh, well, thank you. Let's read another one. This is from Krabby in Fairbanks, Alaska. Kunasses. It's looking like a team to beat. How does he make time to manage his lineup with all those chores from his wife?
Well, I actually was wondering that myself, so I asked him, and he confided this to me, and now I'm releasing it for the whole world to know. He actually pays someone to do his lineup for him.
Well, and here's the thing that I found out from an insider on that squad who will remain nameless. We don't name sources here on Thursday Night SmackDown. It's his wife that he pays to take care of his business.
Really?
Unbelievable, folks. You heard it here.
So his wife picks his lineup for him while he does the house chores.
Correct. All I can say is what we found out is we checked email addresses and found out where all of the communication is going. It's actually going to the real Kunasses, Miss Jill Heimel.
That just is just mind-boggling to me.
But not really. I think we all kind of saw that a little bit in the shadows. What have you got for us?
This is from Attic in Mianus in Washington. Nick, your head shines like the stars. What products do you use to moisturize it?
I've gotten this question quite often. Let me just say this. As you can see, this is all natural. There's no product that touches this head except Irish Spring soap, which is the only soap available for any tough guy like this guy.
Is that right?
That's exactly right. You won't see any Dove coming across this dome. Nothing but Irish Spring. Nothing but the best.
Yeah.
Well, let's close out the mail call with the last letter we've got time for this week.
This is from Wes Welker in Denver. Cody.
What?
I know I've sucked up. Apparently we need to fire those screeners.
Absolutely.
Or perhaps get some ones that aren't making minimum wage. This year, but I'm telling you this week is going to be different. We've got a serious game plan between you and me, you and I, Wes Welker. Between you and me, Julius is still having ankle problems, and Emmanuel is seeing double. Put me in, Coach. You know, Wes, I had you on my fantasy team last year. I actually drafted you last year.
You did?
You put up outstanding numbers this week, but you know, apparently it was your off-the-field consumption of the green plant that led Peyton Manning to having no faith in you. He's lost his respect for you, and I just don't think he's going to throw you the ball anytime soon. Regardless of who's hurt, he's going to find somebody else to throw it to.
Well, somebody whose head can be in the game, not in the clouds.
Exactly, if you know what we mean.
Hey, Denver.
All right, well, let's talk about tonight's game.
Okay, well, we find ourselves in Soldier Field, which is a smaller stadium. It's actually third smallest in the NFL, but it is actually the oldest active stadium. They opened that in 1924.
Interesting enough, I'm drinking the oldest beer in America right now, Yingling Amber.
We're looking at some chilly weather conditions that we think are going to have a major effect in this game. You know, air temperature has a lot to do with density and mass, and we see that change in the ball. This is an open stadium. We're looking at about a 35 degree at kickoff, which translates to about 27 degrees feel-like temperature with the wind chill.
That's that's pretty cold. So
that really is tough conditions, especially for a Dallas traveling squad. You know, we're talking about a Southern team, a dry team. I don't know how they're going to be able to handle that. Yeah, absolutely, in a dome at that. I don't know that they can make those kind of adjustments to see what they saw last week.
And you know, Tony Romo's still suffering from back injuries. He broke back Tony.
He is, and I'm going to tell you, it's a sad thing, but Dallas is heavily dependent on Tony. So I don't think that's a position I would want to be in. I would really watch those starters to see who I'm going to bench this week, who I'm going to play, just because these weather conditions are going to be a major factor.
Absolutely. Weather is always a major factor in these games. We have a couple of players in the league who have athletes playing on these games tonight, so you know they're going to be watching the TV close to see what goes on.
Well, it's cool, guys. And as always, I've enjoyed it. To all of our fans out there, we'd like to remind everybody to please like and subscribe to this channel.
Trying to get money here, yo.
Holla. Thanks again.
See you next Thursday.
Night Smackdown.